Okay, back at it again. Out here another night to get some work done, guys. So, let's see. I got a few things done off camera once again. I guess where do we start? You can start over here. So I got the last fitting that I needed for this, and I got the all the lines ran. The brakes are bled. As you can see, the proportioning valve is in there. All my stainless steel lines are going to my hard lines. That gold color fitting was the one fitting I was waiting for. That's the union, the female union to connect the front brake line on the driver's side there. So, anyways, got that finished up. That seems to be working fine. Let's see. I got the passenger turbo installed, mounted. Both exhaust downpipes are ran, bolted up, tightened. I got all my CO2 lines ran, the hard lines, plastic lines, ran to the wastegates. I got both wastegates installed. I made both dump tubes. I welded them up. I got my, basically all I did was I got a 1.75 inch U-bend, cut it right in the middle of the bend, and used each side to build a dump tube. And the JGS wastegates come with the flange for the dump tube, and I just fabbed it up, welded it, and bolted them on. I'll crawl under there and show you that in a minute. What else did I do? I extended the TPS, got that wired in. What else did I wire in? Alternator control. That connector there I got wired in. I also installed one of the low dollar motorsports fuel pressure sensors. I just installed it into my fuel pressure regulator. It's got an 1/8 inch port there that it'll screw right into, and then there's their pre-made harness that I have to wire in to here. Got down here. So this is where the old fuel rail pressure sensor used to be on my old fuel rails. It was right in this area, and I just snapped it in there. Obviously, I can't put that there. I was using a factory forward one anyway, so this rail won't accept that type. So I had to switch it up to a sensor like that. So I will have to cut this connector off somewhere down here and then extend the wiring to, or I guess I won't really have to extend it. I'll just have to basically cut this off down here, cut this off down here, and connect the 3 wires to it. And then wrap it, loom it, all that good stuff, make it look decent, and then that'll be finished. So I also got the boost tube made up, and then I drilled and tapped it 3/8 MPT for the GM/Delphi intake air temp sensor. You can see it there in the tube. So that is good to go. And also, as you can see, I got the alternator mounted back up top where it normally is. I had to get a different belt than when I had the alternator down there. So I had to play the magical belt game to, figure out what size you need. And believe it or not, I actually got the correct size belt on the first try. This is the belt that I ended up with. So if you guys don't know, on belts, at least on a Gates brand belt, the first number is the number of ribs of the belt. So this is a 6-rib belt. And then this is basically stands for passenger car. And then the number at the end is the length of the belt in millimeters. So this belt is 1,601 millimeter long. A lot of the belts will have a outer circumference measurement on them as well. So as you can see, it's 1,616 millimeters on the outside of the belt. The 1,601 will be the inside circumference. And then it also has the, the inch measurement as well. So this is about today. You can cross-reference. That number will get you different brands of belts. That's like a kind of a generic across all brands number that'll work. This is Gates's internal number for the belt. And like and Gates, 630 will be like say a 63 and 5/8. If you go to 625, it might be a 63 and an eighth belt. You have to look it up on their website. But as these last three numbers go down, the belt gets smaller. As these three numbers go up, the belt gets longer, so on and so forth. So, but anyway, that's kind of how the belt works. I could have, if they had it in stock, I could have went to a KO 60627, or excuse me, 628 or a 625. If it was just a tiny bit shorter, it would be a little bit tighter. The tensioner is kind of at between half and 2/3 of its travel. So, I could get a little tiny bit shorter belt and get a little more travel on my tensioner before it's maxed out. But they didn't have either of them belts in stock. They had this one in stock, and I wanted to start it this weekend. And it would have been Monday before they could get a little bit smaller belt in stock. So I just said, screw it, I'll go with this belt. It should work no problem. But just keep that in mind if you're going to delete your... Now, don't forget, this is with no AC and no power steering. So this is your water pump, your crank pulley, your alternator, and then I have two idlers, two grooved idlers, one right there, and then one right there. Water pump smooth, alternator is obviously grooved. My tensioner is smooth. This front cover came off, I believe, an Aviator. So it's going to be a little different depending on what year and model your front cover came off of. But if you got a Boss over there where you can put a idler, go ahead and put a grooved and a smooth tensioner, and then you can use this belt part number and you'll have your belt. So where else we got? I think that's all the major stuff done. So tonight I plan on wiring in the boost control solenoids, wiring in the power to the fan connector from the relay board inside, and then I can get all this wired in here loomed up, and then I can wrap it with Tesa tape, get that looking nice, and that'll be finished. Like I said, wire in that fuel rail pressure sensor, that'll be finished. And then I got to wire in the dome pressure sensor, which I already got installed. I just got to plug the connector in and then wire that in to the Mega Squirt. I'll probably run that inside if it'll reach, and tap into it on the inside. I think that's what I'm going to get done tonight, and depending on how things go, if I get things done quickly, I may do a little more. I've also got to run, you see these two red wires coming out of the harness with eyelet connectors on them. I got to remove them out of there and run them behind to there. That pressure sensor, that's for a gauge, a fuel pressure sensor gauge, a mechanical gauge. And that used to be on the fuel rail over here as well, but I can't put it there no more. It won't fit. So I put it in a pressure port fitting on my supply line. So I got to run the connector and then connect it back there. No big deal to get that done. And then yeah, guys, we'll be on our way. Then we'll have to change the oil. Or not change the oil. Put oil in it. Change the oil filter. Change the fuel filter. Put fuel in it. Put transmission fluid in it. And put water in it. Coolant. And then we'll be damn near ready to rock and roll. Start this thing up and see what we got. So anyways, let's get started on the stuff that we know we need to do right now. Oh, and I cannot forget to put the torque converter bolts in, but I'll get that done soon. All right, guys. I have a MMR oil filter relocation kit, and it can use a couple different filters. They're all small block Chevy type filters, But I use a Wix 51069, and it works pretty good. Wixes are really good filters, so I highly recommend them if you're going to get a a nice filter. Just grab a Wix. They're inexpensive and they're really good. So 51069, and we're gonna go ahead and fill this up and throw the filter on. Okay, guys, so got the filter replaced, the oil filter. Engine's full of oil, at least for now, till I start it, and it'll probably take a little bit more. The fan. Okay, so this cheap China radiator is, thicker than the stock one. So I knew it was going to be tighter than when using the factory radiator. So I went ahead and went to install the fan. This is a stock fan. And if you end up running this setup, be prepared to fight to get that in there. Well, I'll take that back. If you're running this turbo kit as well, if you got turbos mounted like this is a CG Fab turbo kit. And man, it was a bear. It was a tight fit, but I eventually got it in there. I do have heat blankets to help protect the fan and the wiring that are going to it, for the turbine housings. So I have them, which I will put them on towards the end before I start it. But anyways, the fan's on. Torque converter bolts are in, torque down, good to go there. I got my washers in there to space the converter where it's supposed to be, so we're good there. As you guys can see, the list is getting shorter, and not all of this is necessary to start it. This is just basic stuff that I need to do to quote unquote finish it. And not even all this I need to do before we go to the track for the first time, but most of it I do. There's just a couple little things in here that I could wait to do till after we go to the track. But so let's see what I got left here, guys. I gotta bleed the brakes one more time, and then that'll be finished. I'm gonna cross that off. I got to wire in the MAC valves. I'm gonna hopefully do that tonight. Dome pressure sensor, same thing. Wire that in. Fuel pressure sensor, that's what I showed you earlier with that guy, and the sensor's right there. So hopefully I'll be able to cross that off. I gotta fill the trans after I mount the dipstick. Once I get the dipstick in, cross that off, then I'll fill the trans, cross that off. I gotta go underneath and crimp an end on the alternator cable where it connects to the starter to go back to the battery. Easy enough, that's simple. Crimp that, check that off, then be done. Still got to do the driver's back seat support, weld that in, no big deal. I got to install or mount the driver's 5-point harness. I still got to mount the passenger crotch strap or anti-submarine strap, the one that goes between your legs. I got a couple wires to finish on the dash, and obviously a couple on the engine here. Finished padding the driver's side of the roll cage. Got to adjust the shifter cable, install the cotter pin for it. Top off the rear diff. I lost a little fluid when I changed out the pinion flange. Got to fill it with coolant. Got to load my new base tune on there for the new bigger injectors. Need to change the fuel filter. Put fuel in it, in the fuel cell. I have rear diff bushings, the aluminum spherical bushings. I'll probably hold off till after the first track visit to do that. Same with the subframe connectors. I haven't bought them yet, but I'll like to hold off till after the first track visit. Need to obviously check. A couple of the tires are flat, so I need to put air in them before I load it onto the trailer. And then I need to figure out the wiring for the headlights and taillights, obviously, because I removed all the wiring, the stock wiring, or most of it. I need to splice into some wires for the taillights and then the headlights and put it to a switch. But I can do that after the first visit as well. So, like I said, there's a few things on here that I can do after the first track visit. as we have a little bit of downtime, but obviously there's a few things on here that must be done before we go. So, so anyways, let's see. Trying to think. Well, I think I'm just gonna finish the wiring stuff. Get that stuff done. That way I don't have to even think about it. Hopefully it'll be working fine. I don't want to think about it, but it'll be done and all the sensors and stuff will be wired in. Then I can then just finish the mechanical stuff. I'm a mechanical guy. I prefer mechanical shit. I hate electrical, wiring, electronics, that type of stuff. The stuff's cool when it works, but it's a pain in the ass to install, and you know the deal. You know the spiel. So, anyways, so let's go ahead and finish up some wiring. I'll bring you back when I get some stuff done. All right, got the fuel rail pressure sensor wired in and routed, loomed up, taped up, all that good stuff. The trans dipstick tube is routed and mounted, so this will work pretty good. This is a super sweet dipstick. This is one of the Lokar locking. I don't know. I can't remember the exact name of them, but it's a locking dipstick. And in the trans pan on the TH400, it's got a locking collar instead of just a grommet that has an O-ring on it and you just slides in there that leak all the time. It replaces it with a fitting that goes into the pan, and then you have to take the pan off and screw a nut in from the bottom side, the inside, and that seals it. And then this has a locking collar that you gotta push down to. See that? Push down, and then you pull the dipstick out. It has this on the other end as well. Super nice. 36-inch. Wait. Let's see. Can't remember now, guys. Gotta look. Let's see which one it is. It's either a 36 or 24. Okay. Throttle cable was 36. TH4. Well, don't say. But that's the part number up there. Anchor tight. You have to run that part number and see the length. I can't remember what it is. I think it's 30 whatever, 32, 34 inches. So, okay. So I think the next thing I'm going to tackle, I also got a charging cable from the alternator. Crimped the new end down at the starter. And the starter plug is where it connects to the battery to go charge the battery. So that's good to go. Next thing to do, I'm going to wire these boost control solenoids in, and then I'm going to try to wire in the fan power. I got to run, like I said, one from the relay, power wire out from the relay in the car out to this connector, and then splice it in, and then I can connect it to the fan. So I'm going to do those two, and then we'll come back. So let's go ahead and get that started. Okay, guys, going in the transmission with low viscosity high guard. This is just an option that you could run. It holds up to the heat quite a bit better than like a Type F or any kind of the standard transmission fluids. This is from John Deere. You can pick it up any John Deere dealer, get it online as well. So, like I said, going in with this, I already got 4 quarts. Already got 1 jug in there, and I got 1 quart in the converter. So I got about 5 in there. So put this in there, and we'll be good to go on the fluid. All right, guys. It's pretty late or early, however you want to look at it. So I think I'm gonna call it a night, but I am super close to starting this thing up. So I think tomorrow or later today, I should be able to fire this thing up for the first time and start tuning on it. So I only have a couple little things left to do. I just got to install the coolant crossover delete. and the thermostat and the upper hose. Fill it with coolant. Install the boost pipe. Tighten up them clamps right there on that pipe. Plug in the intake air temp sensor. Plug in both coolant sensors. And then I still have to reroute them 2 wires over to my fuel pressure sender over there. Other than that, oh, and I got to wire in my dome pressure sensor. But I got all the wires there to do it right there, so I just got to, splice them into that and clean up that harness and wrap it, and then it'll be all finished. But so yeah, stay tuned for the next video. We should be a startup video and a tuning video. Hopefully, so I'm trying to think here. We may or may not be able to go Wednesday to the track for the test and tune session. Depends on if everything goes good and we don't have any issues come up that we can't take care of by Wednesday. So as long as everything is good, we'll plan on Wednesday going out there. But so stay tuned, guys. If you like the content, I ask you to please subscribe, and any comments you guys want to throw down in there, I'll try to respond to all of them. Thumbs up, all that good stuff. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. We'll be back with you in the next day or so with a first start video. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you on the next one.